your friend
Yeah.
using.
No problem. Okay. Is that okay? All right, good.
How would it feel to have a thriving fitness business and have the freedom to enjoy life at the fullest? Well, that is exactly what the Trainer Revenue Multiplier Show is going to give you. My name is Mathew Park. This is Jaime Filer.
Hey, guys.
And we are here to serve.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening to. Welcome to the Trainer Revenue Multiplier Show. As always, I am your host, I guess co-host today, Jaime Filer, and I am privileged to have Professor Mathew Park on with me today, talking about habits that will help your fitness business. Mathew, how are you?
I am doing absolutely awesome, Jaime. Hanging with you is absolutely fantastic. I'm glad to hear you. Awesome. Let's roll. It's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it, Jaime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you did something a little bit out of habit. You went on a trip to the West Coast. You're in Vancouver, Canada, visiting Magnum HQ. And I wanted to discuss it because your strength is networking.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
This is in your wheelhouse. This is your superpower, connection, communication. So I would love to know why you chose habits and habits that will help your fitness business as the topic for today's podcast.
Great question. So I'm noticing, actually, it's funny because I was in Vancouver for obviously a couple of days. And I'm noticing trainers and coaches right now that are actually right now not only thriving in TRM in our family, Jaime, but also in general out there in the marketplace. And I'm realizing what they're doing to create success, obviously on their company, but also in all areas of their life. And I'm realizing that habits, whether it comes to performance, whether it comes to education, when it comes to your business, when it comes to even your life, and what is actually happening with those that actually are succeeding with their business and those that actually aren't. And what are the ones that actually they're doing that are making them really succeed and grow?
I love that. I love that. Okay. So it gave you like perspective to get away, to get out of your day-to-day habit, gave you perspective on what other people were doing. So I think that's really important to identify. And that's a great place to start. Of course, I have a couple of notes. Before we discuss what habits trainers should be doing, I think we should start with perspective. What are productive habits you are already utilizing that are currently helping you, but also what are sabotaging habits that you have that you may not know you have that are getting in the way of you moving forward? Can you give us some samples of both productive habits and sabotaging habits that you notice?
Yes, that'd be awesome, for sure. Productive habits number one is reviewing your metrics on a regular basis. So for example, reviewing your lead gen flow, your conversion of calls, leads coming in, where leads are actually coming in from certain areas, where the numbers always are for your company and so forth. And actually getting just down to the nitty gritty of like, what's your basic data and numbers for the business on a regular basis, number one, which is kind of boring, but it's very important for the growth. Number two, I would say on the sabotaging side, it's more of the angle of this. And I think it's the angle of when trainers are so focused on just posting and not actually, for example, they miss a day in posting, they skip a whole week now, right? It's almost like, hey, if you can get 5 days in a week or 3 days in a week or whichever your goals obviously are, and if you miss it, no big deal, is don't self-sabotage and make it a week or 2 week long thing. Get back on the horse and start back fresh the next day. And that is why I believe we have a coach like Jaime on our team who holds you accountable when things do happen like that, because it's going to happen with certain things in your life, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're saying that the sabotaging habit is when people have said, oh, I haven't posted in the last 3 to 5 days. I just won't post this week.
Or the next couple of, and just almost like quit doing it for a while because I didn't do it for a couple of days. So why don't I just, keep it going for the next week?
Yeah.
Or they don't check their numbers or their sales call numbers, and all of a sudden they forget about that. And all of a sudden it becomes a 2 week or 3 week long thing they forget about. And now it's a month down the road. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have other examples of productive habits that you've seen our trainers use?
100%. I would say that when you look at the aspect of marketing for their business, is don't depend on just one level. So for habit, for example, is, hey, when you're out there building your business and you're obviously in TRM, you're getting coaching, you're getting support with your business. If you're just doing one marketing thing really well, it's great. But also look at, if you're going to build a good habit, build a good marketing habit of either doing 3 things well or routinely, as opposed to just doing one thing. Because if one thing will go sour for you, you want to have 2 or 3 or 4 backup plans to work for you in the marketing and the sales process for your business to keep generation of growth happening for you.
Can I ask you a follow-up question?
Yes.
Okay. There are other people who would say, well, you have to make hay while the sun is shining.
Yep.
What would you say to those people?
Okay. I would say that while the same things obviously are going well, is keep things going well, but also make sure that, hey, if there's right now, if you've got 3 or 4 avenues of your marketing and sales going and they're in their routine, and one goes really well, the sun is shining, that's awesome. But all of a sudden, what if that sun doesn't shine one day and you got 2 or 3 backup plans to take care of you when the sun actually isn't shining? And we've all kind of been there with our business once in a while where we depend on one thing, for example, Instagram only, and do nothing else. But what if Instagram puts you down for a week or 2?
Yeah.
But what if your account gets hacked? Right?
Yeah.
Now, so it's the angle of like, hey, marketing. And so the habits come into, what are your marketing sales efforts? So when the sun is shining, you actually can gather the hay in multiple avenues, even when things are going on these wavelengths in your business.
That's a really good point. That is a really good point. So how do you define a productive habit versus a sabotaging one? And I know that sounds, well, obviously, you know, if you're sabotaging, but I would argue that some people spend a lot of time on TikTok because they've heard that you can get so many leads from it. And of course, to an extent, that's true, right? But, you know, what about, at what point does the TikTok become a sabotaging habit, right? Like, how do you define productive versus sabotaging?
Your questions were really good, Jamie. Productive and sabotaging. So productive, I would say, for example, is, hey, if you're going to commit to TikTok, do it on a certain level that you commit to. Sabotage with the angle of, hey, it's almost like you say you're going to do TikTok and you start, you do one post and don't do it for the next month. So it's almost the angle of, hey, if you're in social media, obviously from the angle you're going at, pick the 1 or 2 areas you want to focus on, or 3, whatever you're focusing on, and just do them just do them well and routinely to get in the habit of doing them. I think where most coaches get sabotaged is they almost try to do almost like 5 different social media at the same time, and they're doing all 5 networks kind of, I'll use the word half-assed, right? And where if they're doing their Instagram or their Facebook really, really well, and they introduce YouTube, okay, awesome, do your YouTube really well, not half-corked or not really well, because if you don't do that right, all of a sudden you self-sabotage, because now you're like, well, one video goes up, you go to the next one, and now you're like doing all these different networks not at the full capacity.
Okay, so it becomes sabotaging when you spread yourself too wide versus going deep, and now all of your efforts look like you only put a half-ass into them.
There you go.
Okay, so then what then makes it productive, a productive habit?
Pick your 3 or 4 and just do them. So if it happens to be an email a week, do an email a week. If it actually is, networking every single week with a new collaboration to generate leads, do that once a week.
Okay, wait, I didn't phrase it correctly. Sorry. No, it's on me. I didn't mean like give me an example of a productive habit. I could think that sending out an email a week is productive. But when I look at my MailChimp backend, I see that there are 0 opens and 0 clicks. Just because I'm doing it, it has not proven productive. So how do you define what a productive habit is?
Okay, got it. The angle of definitely obviously looking at, number 1, if you're doing emails and you're getting an open rate, obviously then the angle obviously could come into, is your content speaking to the audience properly? Is there too much selling in your emails? Is subject line not very good for open rate period? Like that might mean, like right now, email has gotten very saturated, and same with certain social media as well. So the angle is, if you're going to do email, maybe learn better ways to be better at your email and learn techniques, tactics, educate yourself on the actual process. If you're going to use social media, hire Jamie to do your Instagram for you, or find ways to, maximize the Instagram for you on certain levels and go deeper, as opposed to trying to do 4 at the same time. And then all of a sudden you're like, why am I getting no results?
Right. Okay. I like that. So pick a metric to measure that will determine whether it's serving you or not.
Exactly.
How long would you give something before you say this just isn't a productive habit anymore?
I would say that you'd want to, for example, if you're going to look at your emails, for example, and one email obviously is not really probably maximizing its full power yet, but if you're going to do emails, for example, give it a 3-month time for actually like learning subject lines, open process, metric, what would actually make sense for you in emails, or find ways to actually generate more awareness, actually bring in more emails into your awareness, to create storylines and subject lines and persuasion and copy that actually makes sense on how to actually engage more with your email audience, or even like tell your audience, hey guys, I'm now going to be engaging in emails more twice a week. If you want to learn more about that, come over to my email list and we'll talk more about that over there.
Got it. Yeah. Like a call to action.
Correct.
What habits do you do? What are your habits and how have your habits evolved? Let's start with what you do now, and then we'll talk about how they've evolved.
Perfect. My first habit right now is my wake up time is always 5 a.m. every morning. 5 a.m. is every morning. Number one. Number two is I do what we call now a sacred 6 first thing in the morning. That actually is a means for me actually to get myself in state actually for the first part of my day. And number 3 is for sales and marketing is 1 email a week right now is my standard to get that going right now for the week. Number 3 is I want 3 posts out for social media posts every single week out for my habit as well. If I do more than 3, awesome. Big win, all the power. My other aspect, obviously, for habits for me as well is obviously for me is getting a walk a day in for my mindset as far as like decompressing as well. And sales calls is I want to, Jamie from TRM, I want to be in 8 sales calls a week. So under 8 sales calls a week means something isn't working over here to get to that 8 sales calls a week. Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, what's going to turn the engine forward to help the business grow to serve me personally and professionally that helps the team, my family, and also myself to get better as well.
What was the most recent sabotaging habit you removed?
That's a good one, Jamie. I would say I actually had to redo my new version here recently, my new version of myself. And I've realized my newest habit I probably changed right now was, which actually is kind of funny, is actually getting to bed earlier.
Oh, I like that.
So easy. It actually was difficult because for myself, I was realizing in the evening, I caught myself trying to work that hour before bed to actually catch up on work, with the kids are in bed and it's kind of quiet. Yeah. Now I'm like, no, I'm not working past 9 o'clock anymore. It is my chance to go for a walk outside, bed by 10, relax, put the kids in bed by 8:30 and like have my chance for Mathew.
I get it.
Where I caught myself before doing a little bit of work to say, oh yeah, get a little bit of work done before bed. We would get to go. All of a sudden 10 o'clock turns to 11 o'clock. And now I'm waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, not recharged and refreshed.
Yep. So it is said, I believe it was Charles Duhigg in The Power of Habit in his book, he says that it takes 66 days to make a new habit. The first 21 days are when we remove the old habit. The second 21 days is when we start to instill the new habit. And then the third phase, the last 3 weeks, are when we really solidify that new habit. Do you believe that you have to replace an old habit with a new habit? I
definitely agree. 100%. 100%. Yeah. I would love to hear actually your angle of habits, because I noticed in you've been like in the morning, you've been like journaling, meditating, all these sort of things. I would love to hear what you're doing right now for your habits right now in the morning.
Sure. So I do have a morning routine. Katie and I wake up at the same time every day. It's 6:30. She goes on the walk with the dogs. I get their breakfast and mine ready. I listen, and during that time, I also listen to a meditation on the Calm app, whatever one they have for that day. I don't get to choose it. Typically though, as it happens, it's always one that like I need that day. The universe just gives that to us. We have breakfast together. And then before I actually get to my work, like this is my little laptop station, there's a journal beside the laptop, and in it is my workout for the day. my goals and my to-do list, but also an intention for the day and a section that says what I'm grateful for. So the night before, the to-do list and the goals are always filled out so that I know what's on my plate in terms of like my professional life. But I always write my intention and what I am grateful for in the morning before I'm like allowed to start working. So that is my morning habit.
I love that. I love that. What time are you in bed in the evening, Jaime?
This is a little bit more flexible. All screens are off by 9 p.m. in our house. Then we either read or we chat, but no later than 10 p.m. every night.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so good. So right now, what would you say is one of the things you probably removed, like a bad habit or a self habit for you that was removed and replaced with a better habit for you in the last like couple of months?
I have stopped looking at my Instagram, like my actual feed.
Okay.
And same with TikTok. If anything, I do go on the explore page or the discover page because that actually tells me what's trending. So
Yep.
I'll know, what transitions to use, what audio to use, what people in either the business industry or the personal training industry are talking about right now. And obviously this is unfortunate because it's my friends who are on my feed, so I don't always get to see their posts, but I have removed scrolling my news feed on all social media platforms.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. That's awesome. Wow.
But going back, because this is about fitness, right?
Yeah,
the fitness
100%.
I want to, right? We tell our trainers in TRM to come up with a power list, 3 to 5 actions that you can commit to every single day, right? That are going to propel your business forward. And we all have seasons of our business, months, right? Perhaps the activities you're going to commit to look different in the summer because it's a little bit slower than they do in January when business is booming. So what would you say are like 3 things people need to do in this season? It's June 1st. It's the beginning of a new month. We're heading into summer, honestly, right? Q2, here we go. What do people need to be focusing on?
I would say 3 things. Number 1 is on their metric angle. I know it sounds kind of boring, Gene, but definitely looking at making sure, like, understand what metrics are they measuring? Because I've realized trainers in our TRM process, obviously, the ones that are measuring their numbers and metrics get better results, period.
Absolutely. Okay.
Number 1 is metrics.
Okay. Yes, good. Number 2.
Define what those actually are, obviously, for your business. Number 2 is on the marketing side of things or sales side of things is get into the habit of what are you doing to actually generate sales calls for your business?
Okay.
Okay. So is that going to be DM reach outs? Is it social media posting? Is it what are you doing? And number 2 is develop the habits every day in the course of the week that actually generate for you sales calls in your business. Number 2.
Okay.
And number 3, which actually is kind of a funny one, is sleep. I know it's not business related, but I find if the trainers aren't getting enough rest and they get tired and overwhelmed, boom, they start to get lazy on their on basically their business habits, metrics, and so forth.
Yeah.
I would say that, like we mentioned about wake up time and sleep time, which really isn't business, but it kind of is establish the habit of like, waking up whatever time it's, whether it's 5 or 6, whatever you want for your business, and then getting that time at evening actually like shut down by the end of the day. Boom. Those 3 are basically like, hey, numbers, marketing, sales, and then recovery.
I think that's brilliant. And mostly establishing a routine, because you can sleep, from 11 till 7 one day, 12 till 8 the next, 9 till 6 the next, and there's just no consistency. And the point of a habit is consistency. So I totally agree with you. Don't just sleep. Make a routine of how you're going to get to bed, and then when you're going to wake up, and then how your day goes from there.
Totally. 100%, Jaime. 100%.
Love it. And guys, if you're struggling with, going back to the beginning of this conversation, how do we define a productive habit versus a sabotaging habit? What are productive versus sabotaging? As we always say in TRM, do a time audit of your day. Every half hour, write down where you are and what you're doing, and catch yourself. If you find yourself like at 3 points throughout the day, if you have written scrolling, probably a destructive, sabotaging habit. So in order to identify what you're doing, we need to know. We need perspective. Yeah. Mathew, what else am I missing? What else do we need to discuss?
I'd love to actually kind of go into this for a second if we could, Jamie, actually. It's something about for what I've actually been learning recently, actually right now with, as you know, my 2 young children are at home full time. So I've realized how to structure more effectively with kids at home full time, a 4 and 2-year-old. And I've realized the habit of being patient and the habit of being flexible, but not derail yourself is also very important. If our kids were 9, 10, 11, I think it'd be a lot easier because the kids are older. But when they're young, they're coming to the office probably every hour, seeing what I'm doing on a call, whatever else. And it's building more of like, I would say almost like a habit of calmness and flexibility in your approach in your business, where it's like, hey, here are the things you commit in the course of your day. But hey, if things happen to fall off track, don't worry about it. Get back on track and don't feel guilty about it. It's part of life.
Yeah.
So if you got kids or dogs or small kids or whatever at home, and you're an entrepreneur, trainer, growing your business right now, guys, because many of you guys obviously are, stick to what you can focus on, commit as best you can to the process, keep evolving it. Jamie talked about, 3 months into your building a habit process. But if you do have things on there, obviously what we call distractions, are they actually more the angle of, so here's the thing I want to mention. Actually, one thing I read in a book recently, actually from Bo Eason, was he talked about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And he says, listen, these guys, when they're doing a free throw and they're, winning the game, right, back in the day, there's thousands of people around them yelling, miss your shot. There are players out there probably, giving them whatever they want, a bad rap. So the whole thing is like distractions are still around us all the parts of our day. The question is, can you be calm in chaos? Because it's defining what actually is a distraction for you right now. Maybe for right now, things you control for social media, you can control. Maybe the things, for example, you have kids at home and they're more difficult to control in your business model. So right now, if you can control your social media scrolling, but you can create flexibility with your kids, that creates a habit of also like, becoming better in your model of like establishing those kind of boundaries for yourself.
I love that. I love that. So for all parents or people who have those distractions, take heed, pay attention, control what you can. Love it. Love it. Anything else you would like to finish with?
That has got it, Jamie. How about you? Any thoughts from you all you want to share before we that was actually really good.
Definitely remember the fact that if you want to currently break a bad habit, you have to replace it, because otherwise all you're going to do is create a void. And if we use the example of, let's say, drugs and alcohol, if you take away drugs, you might replace drugs with alcohol because you've not replaced it with something positive. You've just created a void. So guys, if you're going to remove a sabotaging, destructive habit from your day, please replace it with something productive, something positive, something that brings light and abundance into your days.
I love that. That's amazing. I love that.
Mathew, thank you so much for joining us here on the Trainer Revenue Multiplier Show. And for those of you in podcast land, thank you for joining us from Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, wherever you are listening. Please make sure you rate us, you subscribe. And if you like what you've heard, definitely share us on Facebook and Instagram. Tag us at Trainer Revenue Multiplier. And we cannot wait for you to join us next week.
Thanks, Jamie.